they're going to have to start explaining to the American people why they consistently vote to shut down the government at a time when there are important priorities that need to be funded, whether that's air traffic control or TSA or Border Patrol, law enforcement, our troops, obviously, first and foremost. Those are all things that very shortly here are not going to get paid if we don't, the government doesn't open up. And I think that's starting to sink in with the American people. The Democrats they're going to own this.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune blasting Democrats for repeatedly voting to keep the government closed as federal workers continue to miss paychecks. Thune is now expected to push a bill this week that would guarantee pay for federal employees and military service members. House Speaker Mike Johnson revealing he would bring the House back if the Senate voted to pay federal workers and members of the military. Meanwhile, President Trump is set to host a high-stakes lunch with Senate Republicans in the Rose Garden today as Senate Democrats fail to pass the bill for the 11th time. Joining me now is the man himself, Louisiana Congressman and Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Speaker, good morning.
Hey, Cheryl, great to be with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. We're in the 4th week of this shutdown, and we've got unpaid federal workers, families that rely on food programs. What do you say to those people, those Americans? Why is the government still closed?
Yeah, those categories that are listed by Leader Thune and yourself and so many others, real Americans are hurting, and it is so frustrating to us, Cheryl, because the contrast here is so clear. Remember, it was over a month ago that the House did our job, and we passed a clean continuing resolution, a totally nonpartisan, 24-page, very simple piece of legislation to just keep the lights on so that Congress could continue to do the work of appropriating the funds for the annual budget, and also for navigating all the rest of the issues we have on the table throughout the end of the year. The Democrats voted it down. They've done it now almost a dozen times, as you said, because they're playing partisan games. They filed a counter-proposal. Let's not let anybody forget what they filed as their counter-offer. Their CR is not a clean one, it's a dirty one, because they want to spend $1.5 trillion new dollars on all sorts of wasteful programs, including $200 billion to fund health care benefits on the backs of American taxpayers for illegal aliens. They want to give $500 million back to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting to prop up leftist news organizations. And they want to spend billions of dollars overseas on all sorts of extraneous, crazy kinds of programs. They know we're not going to do that. It's not a serious proposal. This is the first time in history that any party has chosen to shut the government down over a clean CR. They're playing a game, and it's very simple. Here's the reason why. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, the two leaders in both chambers for the Democrat side, are afraid of their far left flank. They're afraid they're going to get a challenge in New York because Marxism is all the rage, and they're going to lose their seats. So they're putting up a fight. It makes no sense, and real people are getting hurt.
$37 trillion in debt, absolutely agreed, and that is the overlying story here. But in all of this, what is your responsibility to end this? I mean, if we're still sitting here next week and we're still shut down, what can you do differently? What will you do differently?
Well, here's the thing. The mainstream media has asked me in all these interviews, why aren't you negotiating? Cheryl, I literally don't have anything to negotiate. In the past, when there's been a CR standoff like this, a continuing resolution to keep the government open, the majority party has loaded up the CR proposal with a lot of partisan priorities, gimmicks and tricks sometimes. We haven't done any of that. I mean, we're operating in good faith. The Republicans are trying to keep the government moving forward. So we sent over a totally clean CR. So in other words, there's nothing I can pull off of that to make it more palatable for Democrats. It's exactly what they already voted for. In fact, Chuck Schumer voted for the identical measure in March of this year and gave an impassioned speech on the floor about how it had to be done because it would be totally irresponsible to harm the American people by shutting the government down. The only thing that's changed between March, 7 months ago, and now is that Chuck Schumer is now afraid of the rise of Marxism in New York. That's his home state, and he's afraid he's going to lose the seat that he's held for so many years. The man has been in Congress for 44 years, Cheryl. He doesn't want to go home. He doesn't know how to live a normal life. And that is 100% what is motivating all the chaos right now.
He's under, I am here in New York. I'm a New Yorker. He's under a lot of pressure here in this state. I agree with you there. But, the question now is we're in the middle of this is are you in direct talks with President Trump on a path out of it?
Yes, look, we are, the president and I and Leader Thune sat down with Chuck Schumer, the Democrat leader in the Senate, and Hakeem Jeffries in the House. before this all began, back in September. And the president himself pleaded with those two leaders, please, guys, give us the votes. Don't shut the government down. Because remember, it's a math problem. You have to have 60 votes in the Senate, and we only have 53 Republicans. We have 3 Democrats, 3 that caucus with Democrats, that have voted with the Republicans because they don't want to inflict pain on the American people. But we need 5 more to step forward and do the right thing. That's the impasse. There's nothing more that we can do on the Republican side other than offer exactly what the continuing resolution presents. And by the way, this is so important. This is Biden-era policies and spending. We don't even like this. We want to change it. We're in the appropriations process to implement Trump policies and not Biden policies. But the point is, the Democrats have zero basis to oppose it other than the politics that were on display at their No Kings rallies, their Hate America rallies on Saturday.
No, now that those are over, I do want to talk to you about the move in the Senate this week to guarantee federal worker pay. And you know, you've got some Republicans in your caucus, like Representative Kevin Kiley from California, who are becoming a lot more vocal about being on recess. You know, they're saying, especially Congressman Kiley, says it's time to get the House business done. We've got to get back to hearings. We've got things that we've got to do. We can't sit on the sidelines anymore. I mean, are you starting to hear from more of your members about their concerns that they can't get business done?
The Republicans are 100% united. I talked to Kevin Kiley on the phone about 24 hours ago about this very subject. The work is being done, and the House doesn't need to be here on the floor doing that. Committees are doing work. Our Oversight Committee on Friday, just 4 days ago, issued the 3rd batch of Epstein files from the Epstein estate with all sorts of details and all the kinds of things. So we have oversight going on. We have our appropriators who have already gotten their work through committee, working on the next batch to move off the floor. All these things are going forward. I'm talking to committee chairs daily about the work that they're doing while we're not here in D.C. There's very important work being done back in the districts right now as well. Remember, the Republicans are out trying to help their constituents, many of those categories you named at the outset of this interview and so many others, to navigate the chaos of the government shutdown that the Democrats have created by their politics. We have lots of important things to do, and we want to get back here to regular legislative session as soon as Chuck Schumer and a handful of Democrats agree to turn the lights back on.
Speaker, you mentioned House oversight and that work continuing, and I've heard you mention that before. Your critics are really coming after you, and a lot of reporters that keep asking you about this, you know, the move to not to swear in Adelita Gordalva from Arizona, the representative-elect from there, and they're saying it's because of the Epstein files. I mean, I know you've responded to that, but if we do come back, would you be willing to swear her in if we're still in a shutdown?
Of course. We're going to give her the oath as soon as we return to legislative session. That is the rules of the House. I'm following the Pelosi precedent. I mean, she did this over and over. My good friend Julia Letlow, who was elected to fill the seat of her late husband, who passed away because of COVID tragically in 2021, she won that special election in very similar circumstances to Rep-elect Grijalva, who's taken her father's seat. But Nancy Pelosi administered the oath to her 25 days after she won that seat. When a couple of Democrats won special elections under Nancy Pelosi's speakership, Pat Ryan and Joe Sempolinski, she waited 21 days to administer the oath. Why? Because they won during an August recess of Congress. So she waited, logically, till the next legislative days to do that. I'm doing the exact same thing. This has zero to do with Epstein. The Epstein files are being released. There's 43,000 pages now out there. You have the flight logs, the financial ledgers, the phone logs, and the daily calendar of Epstein now that are out there. Names are being released. All that is happening. So that's a red herring. The Democrats are so good at distraction. They're trying to make people lose sight of the simple fact here that the Republicans have voted over and over and over to open the government, and they have voted to close it. That is the plain and simple truth. We're
staying with Arizona, and by the way, you know, with Arizona, you know, I know they're filing suit to get her sworn in, and I want to ask you about that. But you know, what the American people are watching is these fights breaking out, you know, in the hallways of Capitol Hill. I want to play this. This is you and Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona. Let's watch this.
Why don't you bring back your Republican members so we can have a serious negotiation with them.
We're going to have plenty of
Now,
negotiations as
but
soon as you open the government. Let me tell you why they're not here, because the House did its job.
14 days since July 25th.
Yeah, and real people are
They've been
feeling real
on
pain.
And they've been on an extended summer vacation.
They're not on
So you bring
vacation.
it back.
Wait a minute.
I have
wait
an
a minute.
opportunity. I can
Patience
talk to
to them.
every one of my Republican colleagues down there, and we're talking about this all the time.
Yeah, and they're talking about it over here as well.
And our Republican members from Arizona, where are they?
They're in their district. They're in their districts working.
They're sitting.
Wait a minute.
They're sitting.
Oh, hey, Mike Mueller. They did
They
their
are
job.
sitting in their
Come here,
basement.
Mike. You're holding the American people hostage because you want to have a policy debate. We have policy debates here every day.
You know, the American people are watching all of this on their screens. What's your message here?
Yeah, Cheryl, thanks for showing the video. That's Exhibit A of why the House Republicans are doing much more productive work in their districts right now than being here, because Democrats are walking around the halls trying to create publicity stunts. I mean, you just saw that. That's 2 senators from the state of Arizona staging a publicity stunt outside of my office. They should be on the floor voting to reopen the government. If they would do it, you just need 3 more. We could get the government open, and we could get Rep. Grijalva from their state administered the oath to. This is absurdity. They are engaging in political theater. That's what all the marches were about on Saturday, funded by Soros and co-sponsored by the Communist Party of the USA, by the way. This is the problem that we have with the modern Democrat Party and with the people who are serving here. They are afraid of their far left flank, and they are not doing their jobs.
Okay.
And real Americans are being hurt because of it.
Real quick, I've only got a few seconds with you, but what's the schedule for getting the appropriations bills finished by November 21st?
Well, we got them all through the Appropriations Committee in the House, 12 separate bills. We passed 3 off the floor. The Senate passed 3. They don't match up exactly, so we have Conference Committee working to work out the differences and get that done. The next batches that we will pass through and off the House floor are being prepared right now by the appropriators, and they're doing that in bipartisan discussions, by the way, because this should be something that's bipartisan. So we're very optimistic that we can keep that process going forward and be better stewards of taxpayer dollars. That's our call and our charge here. We're working on it very hard. Republicans in charge will get that done. We just need, again, a couple of Democrats in the Senate to help us, because we need 60 votes over there. We only have 53 Republicans.
Speaker Johnson, it's a pleasure to have you here. Come back anytime. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. It's so important. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Yes, ma'am.
All right, Speaker Mike Johnson. We'll be right back, everybody.